Hello, everyone. Welcome to PolkaWorld Interview. In this episode, we're going to talk about Web3 communication. Sumi provides an effective and powerful way to communicate in Web3. It's a great honor for us to have the founder of Sumi Network, David, to be here with us today. Hello, David. Could you brief us on the background of yourself and Sumi Network first?
Great. Hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me here. Yeah, my background's mostly like entrepreneurship, a lot of startups. My career had a couple of okay exits. One to Amazon Web Services in like 2015, and then kind of after that, I got super involved with blockchain at that point. So worked for Consensus, did a lot with Ethereum, and kind of eventually pivoted and found myself in the Polkadot ecosystem. And that was sort of like the origins of Sumi, basically. I was talking to Parity quite a bit after like 2018 once they released the substrate framework, and thought about working there, and they were kind of pushing back saying I should build something based on kind of my history. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about projects, and sort of they helped me come up with the idea of like starting to build like a Google Stack replacement and really focusing in initially on like replacing Gmail.
Okay, great. There are over 300 billion emails sent every day in Web2 space. Email is essential to people's daily life. That's why we brought it over to Web3. But can Web3 infrastructure nowadays carry all of that?
Yeah, that's a great, very deep question. Like, since, we're still like in a bit of early days of blockchain evolution. And, I think fortunately with like a combination of like the new blockchain architecture that Substrate and Polkadot brings, we're able to attach different mechanisms like distributed systems to a blockchain and actually create scale that can handle like millions and billions of transactions a second, and large user scale that exist on the internet today. So we've been really fortunate with the frameworks that Parity and Polkadot's able to provide for building like this new next generation of blockchain technology.
And Sumi will launch with full support for the use of Ethereum, Bitcoin, and substrate-based wallet addresses. Can they intercommunicate? And if yes, and how?
Yeah, so it's really amazing the power that Substrate gives us. Like, we're able to, like, out of the box, just connect to any like Polkadot-based project. So any parachain, anything that's built on Substrate. But it's like so flexible, we can go in and we can add in additional modules or palettes to Substrate, and it allows us to do like the address mapping to any other blockchain. So like you were mentioning, we can add in address mapping from Ethereum to what would be their Substrate address in the like accounts mapping on the blockchain. So for example, I could send a note to like someone on Ethereum that's never logged into the system, and still got to work up the channels to notify them. But then when they log in, like using a wallet or one of our dApp front ends, they'll get those messages in there. So we're pretty fascinated to see like the growth with like being one of like super multi-chain, but not having to use the bridges. It's like one of the most pure stories, I think, of like using a substrate-based framework.
Oh, okay, great. Do you think that will wallet-to-wallet communication eventually take the place of Telegram, Discord, or even email?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really hard to envision like today us displacing these like behemoths, like Gmail and all these like super fast like messenger apps that we have today with blockchain, because people know it as like iteration with blocks of like just a few seconds, but still that's way too slow for like Telegram style chats. But I think one of the most amazing things is like the blending of blockchain technology and distributed like technology. So like a distributed based storage system that talks to the blockchain and gets its sense of logic and allowing people to send messages is like one of the most like underutilized mechanisms in blockchain application development. So you can scale these systems pretty infinitely if you architect them in the correct way. It's taken like several years to really get to this point to know how to build these systems, but basically all the like other CTOs I've reviewed the architecture with say that we're building something that can easily get to like a Twitter user scale level, like sending the amount of throughput of messages. It's feels really comforting getting that like confirmation feedback from like other like fellow technical people that I have a lot of respect for. So I'm not too worried about the scale. I think it's just you build something super solid, we put it out there and it just works day one. And it'll be a little slow after the first few weeks, but I think like the first month or two, we'll start just gaining more and more traction.
Yeah, it's amazing because now Web3 peoples are talking in Telegram or Twitter, and our data still controlled in their hand. So it's great that we can have our communication tools that really belongs to Web3. This is really great. And many pointed to the lack of safety and fraud protection resulting from Web3's decentralized nature as one of its significant detractions. Is Web3 communication really a better option?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question, like given the state of the industry per se. Like a lot of people feel this kind of like mechanism of, how do you say, like a lot of cryptos are not legitimate, right? But basically we had that in the early days of the internet. Like I remember like hosting sites and things in the like mid and late 90s, right? And right before the dot-com bust, there was a thing called like an ISO, an internet stock option, where people were trying to sell shares in their stocks, and the SEC deemed that as illegal and so forth. So there's always these like waves of kind of like somewhat fraudulent things that happen around super innovative tech. I think as far as like what we're seeing now with like, especially like Sumi is like such a super defined use case for like anyone to come in and use it. Like for example, you just get a little bit of Sumi token. So it's like a extreme utility token, right? You can easily just buy this with your credit card, you stake it, and then you're up and running. You're sending transactions in the background. You don't even know that you're interacting with the blockchain with these style of applications. We think it's kind of like a new meta thesis for building blockchain applications going forward.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think as the technology evolving, more and more Web3 users, they are using actually the same tools, but they don't know they are using the under background technology is different. They cannot feel it. And Sumi provides a decentralized wallet-to-wallet communication, which could build a dynamic functionality into Web3. What are the top 3 ones from your perspective? For example, DAOs can engage members with governance, with participation, and NFT projects can assist as a whitelisting tools, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can tell you've done your research, because those are like 2 of my top 3, right? Is like DAO management. A lot of people are trying to like coordinate their votes and see what other people are thinking before they place the votes to, make those like decentralized decisions. The NFT market is just like extremely taking off. I know, even though it's not like an extreme explosive phase that it was like last year, there's still a tremendous amount of people building. Like we just saw one of the largest companies like Starbucks launch an NFT project. So I think a lot of these like, global 5,000 companies are going to come out and continue to deploy NFT projects. We were just speaking to one earlier this week in meetings around mainnet in New York, and they're definitely like one of the major, let's say, like media industries, and they're looking to deploy in an NFT based environment, and they're totally looking like an integration with Sumi to do that, like creator messaging from the fans that own these particular NFTs. It's really amazing to feel this like shift in like major industry that's happening right now with blockchain.
Sounds great. Mailchim's decision to suspend newsletter services for crypto business expresses the widening chasm between Web2 and Web3. Shall we try to bridge both realms or stay focused on Web3 only?
Yeah, it's a great thing. So it's definitely difficult, when one thing is just like switching completely from like Web3 only, and it's difficult for like to build those bridges safely, like how we want with Sumi to be able to prevent like spam and fraud and things like that, and allow users to really push messages back out of their inbox. At this point, we've done some testing of like bridging to Web2 based email systems, and we just don't have confidence in the ability to like defend against like the fraudulent messages. So at this point, we're kind of going at it a little bit differently. So for example, with MailChimp and Martech, you know, the inbound marketing is like extremely efficient for reaching, you know, new purchases and so forth. We're hoping to bridge that rail onto Sumi. So like, for example, you could enable a particular wallet of yours, right, to participate in like what we're calling like notes to earn, right? So you would allow marketers to send you messages, and you could go in and you could select, okay, I like golfing, also like gaming. So you could select individual categories and only allow those in. So you don't get like a lot of like flights or whatever you're not interested in. And those go straight to your inbox because you've allowed that. There's no like spam uh, hidden messages that you're not going to see. And then this like notes to earn mechanism, you would actually earn a little bit of like token reward from these marketing companies. So it's like a little bit of, I guess you'd say, that real yield kind of mechanism that's flying around out there. Except, you know, there's no incentivization from the project. This is like purely straight from the marketing companies.
Mm. And another topic is about the Polkadot technology. And after Ethereum merge, the stage of sharding will follow soon. Or do you think will Polkadot will still have the edge?
Yeah, so I definitely love Ethereum, right? It got us here today, but I still just don't see the technology innovating quickly enough to be able to keep up with Polkadot. Like even if they fulfill basically the roadmap that I see that has been put forward, it's still lacking based to like the substrate framework we have today. And that's like saying there's no more development on substrate, which there is every day. You know, substrate has like all these amazing features, like the ability to do off-chain workers, you know, so we could query like NFTs, token balances on other chains without even needing a bridge, basically. It's got, you know, just like millions of dollars of security audits already baked into it. So if you're going to choose like a framework to build a layer one blockchain with, this is like one of the most secure places to get started. And then also like, you know, bootstrapping an L1, my opinion is like going to be more secure than Ethereum today. Like, you know, I'm a little biased based on my research, but you know, there's probably less than half a dozen holders out there that control more than 51% of the Ethereum network. So, you know, if you're going to have a real decentralized network, you're going to have to come over and launch like a new proof of stake network, not rely on these, you know, pre-mined infrastructure like Ethereum.
Mm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of Polkadot as well. I think the potential is very huge, and we still need more time to see the ecosystem growing. Okay, and next topic. What unique features the substrate framework allows Sumi to enable, which are not available in any blockchain-based communication protocol?
Yeah, I think probably like the number one like reason to jump into substrate if you're going to launch like a full-blown parachain project, for example, is like the ability to launch the parachain. So you just need a small set of like block producers or collators as they're called in Polkadot, and you attach that to the parachain. It's like extremely inexpensive to get a lease now, and at this point you're basically running a fully decentralized L1 at this point. So you can let other collators in. If they misbehave, the architecture of the substrate framework attached to the Polkadot relay chain, it's just going to disregard their like fraudulent messages. Like the only true messages are going to make it through because the relay chain is running the what's called the runtime of your L1. So it's going to verify the transactions against that. So if there's like misbehaving or fraudulent block producers out there, they're just going to get slashed. They're going to have, you know, tremendous amount of financial issues at that point. And it's really, you know, just a really great architecture, you know, and backed by mathematics from the Web3 Foundation researchers. You know, that's probably like the number one reason to jump into it. I think there's many more because, like, for example, if you look in the substrate code, there's just like dozens and dozens of like these blockchain modules that they call pallets that you can pull in. So you can like you can pull in a scheduler to like schedule transactions. For us, we rely on the off-chain worker mechanism quite a bit to talk to these other blockchains to look up like token balances or NFTs. You know, for example, I may have a like a very public wallet, and I want to set the bar of like people need to have like 10 ETH, 1 Bitcoin, maybe some particular NFT before I would accept that message. So Substrate just allows you to start building these very complicated and integrated systems very easily.
As our interview drawing to the end, anything you would like to add or remark?
Yeah, I really look forward to getting feedback from the viewership, and just so excited to start to reach out of North America and try to grow the user base of Sumi. We're looking to launch very soon as a parachain on Polkadot. And Sumi Notes is kind of our key mark feature, right? But we do have a pretty large roadmap of features coming up pretty soon. I think once we launch the Sumi Notes, we would love to like come back to PolkaWorld and start to talk a little bit more about the features that we plan to launch after Sumi Notes, and also get some feedback from your user community as well, and see what they think about Sumi Notes.
Okay, thank you so much for being here today. And we have covered a lot for such a short time. And let's keep tuned, and may everything a great success. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.